The noise will tell you that Eala, the national hero of the Philippines, has started her Wimbledon campaign with a win and books a place in the second round.
There were hardly any people in that stadium when she had fewer than 10 minutes to make a choice that would determine the outcome of the entire game. Recognize that it was taking place. What if I told you the easy-to-remember 6-1-6-2 score? Was it really a front for something much more perilous underneath? What if the true narrative isn't the score at all, but a single decision taken under pressure that most of us would never comprehend, in almost complete silence? What was she genuinely terrified about walking onto that court? And why did the moment that ought to have shattered her turn into the moment that shaped her? Keep going, because the solution isn't where you think it is, and in the end, the way you perceive this match will be entirely different from what the headlines have told you. Imagine it. Grip under her shoes, smooth and strange in a way that clay never is. Here, the ball doesn't bounce. How it reverberates everywhere else. This is Wimbledon. It skids, dies low, and punishes everyone who blinks. The one competition that doesn't give a damn about rankings or reputations. Doesn't give a damn about how hard you work to get here. It only cares about right now, this point, this swing, this half-second decision. And someone who knew exactly how to turn that into a weapon was there on the other side of the internet. Pressure. Instead of using force, use patience. Renata Zarazúa was not going to use brute force to subdue anyone. She didn't have to. The foundation of her entire game was something more subdued and, in a sense, risky. She held out. She continued rallies until her opponents lost patience. She let her anxiety to harm her. Racket never had to. It's the type of game that has previously silently terminated the careers of gifted young athletes. Players who possessed every tangible tool, with the exception of the one item that, in those circumstances, truly matters. Calmness. This is the actual question that no one asked aloud prior to the start of the game. Could Alex's hostility endure? Communication with a person designed especially to disassemble it. Could patience be outlasted by fire? No one was aware. Probably not even Alex. Not without a doubt. And the next several minutes are precisely defined by that uncertainty. Worthwhile to slow down. Due to something that occurred in the first few points that few anyone saw in real time. However, it altered everything that came after. When things get tough, most players reflexively back off. To feel comfortable, they allow themselves extra time, space, and room. It's a human, makes sense. Zarazúa is a counterpuncher, and that's precisely what he wants. Alex took the opposite action. She intervened. Before the ball had a chance to sink into that low, skidding grass court spin, she grabbed it immediately off the bounce. Typically purchases valuable seconds for the defensive player. She shortened the court on purpose. Each and every time Zarazúa attempted. Instead of giving her space to breathe, Alex tightened the gap to slow down the rhythm. Point one strategic choice. Sometimes that's all it takes. Point one early, stressful decision that subtly reroutes the entire trajectory of a game before the majority of spectators have even taken their seats. However, this is where things become tricky. Because having the appropriate game plan, and actually executing it when your hands are shaking and there is no sound in the crowd, these are two entirely different things. Wimbledon doesn't provide you with background noise to mask your anxiety. There are no flashy scoreboard graphics or loud music playing in between points to divert attention from the reality that thousands of eyes are watching every shot, every miss, and every moment of doubt. Therefore, whether Alex knew what she needed to do wasn't the true exam. Was if she could maintain. Despite her body's cries to be cautious, she continued to do it point after point. It appeared questionable for a while. Zarazúa didn't give up just because her initial read was countered, because she is a seasoned competitor. She made adjustments. She attempted to prolong the rallies in the hopes that prolonged confrontations would eventually break the younger players' attention, the manner in which they had defeated other opponents prior to her. That tactic has already been effective. Against better players than Zarazúa is given credit for, but this time, something different began to occur. It's the kind of information that distinguishes a successful victory from one that is truly illuminating. As the rallies continued, Alex's ability to make decisions improved. Not more loose. Not hurried. Sharper. She wasn't merely enduring the. Instead of just hitting hard, she was employing lengthier points, picking better angles, and intentionally opening up the court. And wishing on its own, that isn't talent. You get the shot if you are talented. This is not like anything else, that type of point construction that typically takes years to develop and manifests much earlier than anticipated. And the match began to change gradually and silently. A way that, if you knew what to look for, was obvious even though it wasn't yet plainly visible on the scoreboard. When a player is under pressure for the first time at Wimbledon, Alex's serve games are usually the most vulnerable. Began to hold with increasing comfort, and in the meantime, Zarazúa's own cadence, the steady, patient beat she developed. The margins of her entire game began to fray. Points that are a little shorter and apply a little more pressure. Earlier, the kind of change in momentum that is almost imperceptible until all of a sudden it isn't, until you look up and see that the set's entire complexion has shifted without a single big event declaring it. This was no longer about the score. By the time the first set reached its last games, it had to do with something more difficult. To measure who appeared to be attempting to survive on that court, and who appeared to belong there. For an opening round Grand Slam, the set ended in a way that made fans sit up, decisively, and almost uncomfortably one-sided. Match. And if you believe that's where the tension ends and the narrative becomes more comfy and predictable, you would be mistaken. Because this is the aspect of dominant tennis performances that hardly anyone discusses. Losing is not the most risky situation for any athlete. It's immediately following a significant victory. When a player closes out a commanding set, something almost neurologically occurs. Quietly, the intensity that brought them there begins to diminish just enough. Additionally, on the opposite side of the internet, suddenly, the player who has already lost handily has nothing left to defend. There is no lead to defend. There's no need for tactical patience. Just freedom. The careless, powerless kind of freedom that results from someone with complete nothing to lose. Therefore, whether Alex could win the match wasn't the true question as the second set got underway. She had more than demonstrated that she belonged in this battle. The real question was whether she could close it. Anyone who has truly competed at a high level will tell you that closing is an entirely other skill. From a strong beginning, it requires a particular sort of mental discipline. It's more difficult to protect something rather than pursuing it. Even skilled competitors can be undermined by the possibility of losing, since winning suddenly seems so close. The rhythm switched almost instantly. The points became more competitive. Messier. Zarazúa began swinging more aggressively, as was to be expected, because her position could no longer be saved by patient tennis. Additionally, the game somewhat tightened for a few games. The first set was never quite as good. This is the precise moment when young athletes, even those who are truly skilled, begin to